In the stillness of this moment, when the noise of the world fades and the soul begins to listen, heaven is about to speak. The winds of anxiety, confusion, and fear have passed through your heart, leaving behind questions that words could never answer. Yet, in this sacred silence, something begins to stir, a divine presence moving closer, unseen but unmistakably real. This is not coincidence. You were meant to hear this prayer tonight. Beyond what your eyes can see, there are battles being fought, battles for peace, for hope, for the safety of your soul. And God, in His infinite mercy, has sent His faithful defender to stand beside you. Saint Michael the Archangel, the Prince of the heavenly host. His light cuts through darkness. His sword carries the authority of heaven itself. When the name of Saint Michael is invoked, the enemy retreats, the shadows scatter, and divine order is restored. This prayer is not merely words. It is a call from the heart of heaven to yours. When you listen with faith, heaven listens in return. You are no longer alone in this fight. As you open your spirit to this sacred moment, the shield of Saint Michael begins to form around you, unseen yet unbreakable. So be still. Let every breath draw you deeper into God's presence. Feel the calm before the revelation, for in this very silence, the protection of heaven begins to descend. The hidden battles that surround us. Every day, countless souls walk beneath the weight of invisible wars. They smile on the outside, but within, storms rage silently. Doubts, fears, temptations, and the dark voices that whisper that hope is gone. These battles are not fought with weapons, but with faith. The enemy of peace moves quietly, disguising lies as truth, making the soul believe that despair is normal and that darkness is stronger than light. Yet, it is in these unseen struggles that the greatest victories of heaven are born. St. Paul reminds us in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and powers of darkness in the spiritual realm. This truth shakes the illusions of the world. It reminds us that behind every moment of anguish, there is a deeper reality, one that can only be overcome by grace. The one who forgets this truth becomes an easy target, for the devil's greatest weapon is to make us believe he does not exist. But the soul that listens to the voice of heaven learns to recognize the enemy's disguises. It discerns the false peace that hides sin, the empty pleasures that mask loneliness, and the noise that seeks to drown the whisper of God. It is for such a soul that Saint Michael stands guard, the protector of those who dare to seek light in a world that prefers the shadows. When you invoke his name, you declare that you belong to God. You expose every lie that tries to enslave you. The Archangel's sword does not strike out of wrath, but out of divine justice and love. Through him, heaven reminds you, you are not defenseless, and you are not forgotten. Even now as you listen, Saint Michael walks through your hidden battles, restoring strength where there was exhaustion and courage where there was fear. The heavenly warrior who never sleeps. Since the dawn of creation, when light first pierced the chaos, Saint Michael has stood as the guardian of divine order. He was there when pride rose in the heavens, when rebellion sought to eclipse the glory of God. And it was he who cried out with unshakable authority, "Who is like God?" In that cry, evil was cast down, and the light of obedience triumphed over the darkness of pride. From that moment until now, the mission of Saint Michael has never ceased. He remains the eternal defender, vigilant, unwavering, tireless. Saint Michael does not rest because the enemy does not rest. He guards the church, the faithful, and every soul that calls upon him with sincere faith. His vigilance extends beyond what eyes can see, into the corridors of our thoughts, the corners of our homes, and the fragile places of our hearts. He watches where doubt enters and fear grows, intercepting the arrows that darkness launches in silence. His presence is a constant reminder that God's power never sleeps. There are moments when life feels like a battlefield, when peace seems out of reach and prayer feels distant. Yet even then, Saint Michael is near, his sword burning with the light of divine truth. His very name carries strength that the forces of evil cannot withstand. When invoked, his power surrounds the believer like a fortress, invisible but unbreakable. Saint Michael is not a figure from the past. He is heaven's living sentinel, still defending the children of God as he did at the beginning of time. His battle cry echoes through eternity, calling every soul to rise in faith. As you listen now, imagine that celestial warrior standing beside you, wings blazing with light, sword lifted high in protection over your life. The same strength that defeated the ancient dragon is now guarding your soul. The moment the soul awakens to faith. There is a mysterious hour in the journey of every human soul when the noise of the world begins to lose its power and the voice of God grows impossible to ignore. It may not come with visions or thunder, but in the quiet ache that refuses to fade, in the emptiness that no possession can fill, in the longing that whispers of a love far greater than any found on earth. This is the threshold of awakening, when the heart that has wandered begins to realize that it has been pursued all along. God has never stopped calling, never ceased waiting. He waits not in judgment but in mercy, because love always hopes, and divine love never gives up on the soul it has created. In that moment of awakening, something eternal stirs within you. You begin to see that the real battle was never about circumstances, but about belief, about learning to trust the unseen hand of God when everything visible seems to fall apart. Faith does not erase pain, it transforms it. It does not silence the storm, it teaches the heart to stand firm in its midst. The awakening of faith is not an escape from life's trials, but a return to truth, that you are not abandoned, that you are loved beyond measure, and that even in your weakness, heaven sees a warrior rising. When the soul reaches this point of surrender, Saint Michael steps forward as the sentinel of that new dawn. The Archangel is not summoned by human strength, but by humility, by the honest confession, Lord, I cannot do this alone. The moment a heart turns sincerely toward God, the heavens move in response. Saint Michael is dispatched with divine authority to guard the new life being born within you. His shield covers the fragile beginnings of faith, for the enemy always seeks to destroy what is young and holy. As in the wilderness when Christ was tempted, so now the adversary comes to whisper that you are unworthy, that your prayers mean nothing, that grace is too far from reach. Yet every lie meets the blade of truth carried by the Archangel, whose light exposes deception and defends the soul from despair. Faith begins as a spark, and that spark must be protected. Imagine the smallest flame in a vast darkness, trembling, delicate, and yet because it burns with the breath of heaven, impossible to extinguish. Saint Michael stands beside that flame, his wings forming a shelter against every gust of fear, every storm of doubt. When temptation comes, he stands as the barrier between the soul and the abyss. When confusion rises, he whispers through grace the words that pierce the fog. God is still with you. Keep believing. The awakening of faith changes the rhythm of a person's life. What once seemed meaningless begins to reveal divine purpose. Suffering becomes a teacher, silence becomes a sanctuary, even waiting becomes sacred. The awakened soul learns that prayer is not about demanding miracles, but about dwelling in presence. It begins to see the hand of God in every small mercy, a sunrise, a moment of peace, a word that arrives just when it is needed. Each sign is a reminder that heaven is near, and that Saint Michael's protection is not a distant idea, but an active reality. The enemy tries to convince the soul that faith is fragile, but in truth, faith is the strongest force in creation because it unites the human will to the will of God. The saints understood this secret. They knew that a single act of faith, even when surrounded by darkness, has the power to move angels. That same power lives in you now. When you whisper a prayer in the night, when you choose forgiveness over bitterness, when you say, Jesus, I trust in you, the Archangel moves to defend that choice. Every act of faith, however small, becomes a command that heaven obeys, for it echoes the victory of Christ himself. If your heart is tired, let this truth become your rest. You do not need to have perfect faith. You only need to turn toward the light. The awakening of the soul is not the result of your effort, but of grace responding to your yes. And in that yes, Saint Michael finds his mission. He guards you as a soldier guards a sacred treasure. His sword does not strike to harm, but to cut away every chain that binds you to fear. Under his protection, your faith begins to breathe again, to expand, to take root like a seed planted in holy ground. Listen carefully. This is not imagination. It is divine reality unfolding in your life right now. The same archangel who cast down the ancient serpent now stands beside you, invisible yet near, radiant and vigilant. His wings shelter the light that has begun to burn within your soul. You may not see it, but heaven sees you. The Father looks upon your faith and calls it beautiful. The Spirit moves within you, shaping your heart into a dwelling place of peace. The Son intercedes for you, and Saint Michael guards that intercession as a shield guards a flame. So do not let fear reign where faith has been born. The awakening of your soul is the beginning of a new creation. The moment you said yes to grace, heaven declared war on everything that tried to destroy you. Stand still in that truth. Let Saint Michael fight for you. The God who sent him is faithful, and his protection is unbreakable. The divine command, who is like God? The name of Saint Michael is not merely a title, it is a declaration of divine truth. Michael, who is like God, is not a question seeking an answer, for it already carries the answer within itself. No one is like God. No one equals his power, his mercy, or his authority. In this sacred name lies the eternal cry that shattered the rebellion of Lucifer, the same cry that resounds through every battle between light and darkness. When Saint Michael spoke those words at the dawn of creation, heaven trembled with justice, and the pride of the fallen was broken forever. That cry still echoes in the invisible realm each time the faithful invoke his name with faith. To pronounce the name of Saint Michael is to proclaim the sovereignty of God over every situation. It is to remind the universe that no power, no curse, no force of evil can stand before the holiness of the Lord. Every time the soul whispers, "Who is like God?" pride is crushed, fear loses its ground, and faith takes root deeper within the heart. This phrase becomes not just a statement, but a weapon of spiritual warfare, forged in the furnace of divine humility. For humility is the strength of heaven, and pride the weakness of hell. Saint Michael's power flows from his perfect humility before the Creator. He conquers not by his own might, but by total obedience to the will of God. Imagine that first celestial battle, when the brilliance of the rebellious angels darkened with arrogance, and the faithful ones stood radiant with trust. It was not by strength that they prevailed, but by truth. The archangel's command pierced the heavens like thunder. Who is like God? In that moment, light was separated from darkness, order was restored, and divine justice shone through eternity. The same battle continues in the human heart. Every time a person chooses humility over pride, forgiveness over vengeance, obedience over rebellion, the cry of Saint Michael is repeated once more, and the kingdom of God advances in silence and glory. This is why invoking his name carries such power. When you say Saint Michael, you are not simply calling upon an angelic being. You are aligning yourself with the will of heaven. You are joining the side of truth, allowing divine authority to move through your prayer. Evil cannot endure that name because it reminds it of its defeat. It recalls the moment when arrogance was cast down and the light of God reigned supreme. The devil trembles not at human words, but at the authority they carry when spoken with faith. And faith in the name of Saint Michael carries the authority of the living God. There are moments when the soul must speak that name not as a ritual, but as a proclamation. When darkness tries to surround your thoughts, when fear tries to take your peace, when temptation tries to corrupt your heart, whisper it. Speak it with conviction. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. In that invocation, heaven stirs, the angels align, and the enemy flees. Every syllable becomes light, every breath a declaration of victory. This is the divine command that Saint Michael embodies, not a mere phrase from Scripture, but a reality that shakes the spiritual realm. The strength of this cry also reveals a lesson to the believer. The greatest power in heaven and on earth lies in humility. Saint Michael did not claim power, he submitted to it. His victory came through surrender. When he said, "Who is like God?" he was not exalting himself, he was exalting the Creator. In that moment of surrender, divine power flowed through him like fire. That is the secret of all true spiritual strength. The more the soul bows before God, the higher heaven raises it. This truth reaches deep into the heart of those who seek protection. You do not overcome evil by your own will, but by resting in the will of the Almighty. You do not conquer fear by pretending to be strong, but by acknowledging that your strength comes from Him. When you pray under Saint Michael's protection, you are saying, "Lord, I am yours. Let your will be done in me." That is the same surrender that made the Archangel invincible. In this light, the name of Saint Michael becomes a prayer, a confession, and a battle cry all at once. It reminds the believer that no darkness can rival the Creator, no despair can eclipse His mercy, and no evil can destroy what God has chosen to protect. Each time you invoke His name, you stand beneath the shield of heaven's justice and the sword of divine truth. You declare not only that you believe in God's power, but that you belong to it. So let your heart echo this command. Let your soul proclaim with the Archangel, "Who is like God?" Speak it over your fears, your home, your loved ones, your sleepless nights. With every word, the light of heaven advances, the shadows withdraw, and the authority of God takes dominion. It is through this divine cry that Saint Michael still leads the armies of heaven, and through it, he now defends your soul, the light that shatters the shadows. There is a moment in every prayer when heaven bends close, when the distance between the divine and the human dissolves, and the presence of God fills the soul with an indescribable stillness. It is then that the light of Saint Michael begins to descend, like a river of fire flowing through the dark corners of fear. This light does not merely illuminate, it transforms. It does not only reveal what is hidden, it consumes what does not belong to God. The descent of Saint Michael's light marks the moment when prayer becomes encounter, when words turn into power and faith becomes protection. This light is not born from the sun or the stars, but from the very holiness of God. It shines through Saint Michael as through a mirror polished by obedience. It pierces the depths of despair and penetrates the secret prisons of the heart where guilt and shame dwell. When it enters, chains begin to break. It does not ask permission to enter. It simply comes when invoked with faith. This light is pure mercy in motion. It does not blind, it heals. It does not burn to destroy, but to purify. Where it touches, fear loses its voice and peace takes its place. Imagine it now, the Archangel descending with wings ablaze, the air trembling under the weight of divine authority. His light is not violent, but it is absolute. It moves through the invisible, sweeping away the residue of darkness that clings to minds, homes, and memories. It enters the soul that prays with sincerity, cutting through anxiety and confusion, restoring order where there was chaos. Saint Michael's light is the sign that heaven has heard. It is the proof that faith has opened the gates of protection. The shadows it meets are many: doubt, discouragement, temptation, despair, but none can resist. Darkness, by its nature, has no substance. It only exists where light is absent. And when the light of God appears, darkness flees without a fight. The devil does not surrender to reason or emotion, but he cannot endure divine presence. The very radiance that flows from Saint Michael's being carries the essence of that presence. It is as if the holiness of God, reflected through the angelic spirit, invades the places where evil thought it could hide. This is why those who listen to this prayer must not do so with distracted hearts. They are not merely hearing words, they are entering into a mystery. Each word spoken with faith becomes a spark of that light. Each act of trust opens another window for heaven to shine through. As the listener receives this grace, the room itself becomes different, lighter, calmer, filled with a peace that does not come from this world. That is the light of Saint Michael moving unseen, silently transforming everything it touches. The soul that once felt surrounded by shadows begins to notice a shift. The oppressive weight of fear lifts, and a warmth replaces the chill of anxiety. This is no illusion. It is the divine presence manifesting through the ministry of the Archangel. His mission is to reveal that God's light has never left his creation. Even when sin, pain, or despair seem to rule, the light remains waiting, patient as mercy itself. Saint Michael's descent is the fulfillment of that waiting. He comes as the ambassador of divine clarity to remind the soul that darkness was never stronger than light. It was only louder for a time. The transformation that follows is both external and internal. The atmosphere changes first. Tension fades, thoughts become clear. Restlessness gives way to calm. Then comes the deeper work, the cleansing of memories, the healing of old wounds, the quiet restoration of faith. What the light touches, it renews. It softens what was hardened. It purifies what was corrupted. It strengthens what was weak. The one who prays begins to feel that something unseen is fighting on their behalf, something holy and unstoppable. That is the ministry of Saint Michael, the extension of divine justice and mercy into the human soul. The scriptures describe God as light, and in that truth lies the key to understanding this mystery. In the book of John, chapter 1, verse 5, it is written, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Every time you invoke Saint Michael, you participate in that promise. You are calling upon a light that cannot be defeated, a protection that does not fade, a love that does not forget. His light shatters the shadows, not because of who he is, but because of whom he serves. If you could see what happens when this prayer is spoken with faith, you would never doubt again. The heavens open, angels move, and the atmosphere of your life begins to change. You may not feel it immediately, but the light is already at work, weaving peace into the fabric of your days. Do not resist it. Do not question it. Receive it. Let Saint Michael's light descend upon you, and every place you carry worry, guilt, or fear. And when that light fills you, let it remain. Let it become the radiance by which you see the world, not through fear, but through faith. For when the light of Saint Michael surrounds you, no darkness can stay, no curse can bind, and no evil can touch what belongs to God. That light is descending now. Let your heart open wide, and the shadows will have no choice but to flee. The prayer that opens the gate of protection. There are prayers that speak to the mind, and there are prayers that shake the heavens. The prayer to Saint Michael belongs to the latter. It is not merely recited, it is lived. Every word is a command born from divine authority. Every breath that accompanies it is a declaration of belonging to God. This prayer does not rise from fear, but from faith. It is the moment when the soul stands at the threshold between human weakness and divine strength, between uncertainty and perfect trust. When the believer begins to pray, the invisible gates of heaven open and the armies of light draw near. Before uttering a single word, there must be silence. In that silence, the heart prepares itself. You must let go of everything, anger, distraction, anxiety, because the prayer that truly protects does not come from the lips, but from the soul. Close your eyes, breathe, and remember that you are not speaking into the void. You are standing in the presence of God. The one who created all things listens as if you were the only soul in the world. In that awareness, faith awakens, and where faith is alive, angels move. As the prayer begins, it is as if heaven bends lower to meet the earth. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. Those words are not poetry, they are command. The moment they are spoken, they pierce through the spiritual atmosphere like a sword of light. The enemy recognizes that tone, for it echoes the same authority that once cast him down from the heights. This prayer is a continuation of that first victory. Every believer who speaks it with faith becomes part of that eternal triumph. To pray this way is to declare allegiance. It is to say, I stand with the light, I stand with God. That simple act tears down walls built by fear and restores the order that sin tries to distort. The prayer of Saint Michael is a fortress in sound. Each word a stone, each act of trust a gate reinforced by grace. When the soul enters into it with purity, the angels themselves encamp around the one who prays. The very air changes. The weight of fear begins to lift, replaced by a stillness that can only come from heaven. The prayer is not long, yet within its few lines lies the strength of divine justice. It calls upon the Archangel not as a distant symbol, but as a present protector. His mission is clear: to defend the children of God from every snare, to stand between them and destruction, to preserve the peace of their soul. When the believer repeats this invocation, they are not simply asking for help. They are activating a covenant of protection written in heaven. As the words flow, something begins to shift within. The mind quiets, the body relaxes, and the spirit begins to perceive the invisible reality surrounding it. You are not alone in this prayer. Around you, legions of angels respond to the call. Their wings, unseen, stir the air like the whisper of wind through a temple. Light expands, darkness recoils, and peace descends. The prayer has done what it was meant to do. It has opened the gate. But the gate of protection is not a wall that isolates. It is a doorway that invites communion. It allows grace to enter freely and dwell within the soul. Through this prayer, you are not hiding from the world. You are letting heaven reign within it. Every repetition of Saint Michael's name strengthens that spiritual covering, like light layering upon light, until no shadow can find a way in. This is why you must pray not mechanically but consciously. Each word must be an offering, each breath an act of surrender. When you say, "May God rebuke him," we humbly pray. It is not just a plea. It is an acknowledgement that victory belongs to the Lord alone. That humility disarms every power of darkness, for evil cannot stand in the presence of a soul that bows in faith. As the prayer continues, imagine the light of Saint Michael enveloping you, not as fantasy, but as reality. The shield of heaven extends over your mind, your home, your loved ones. The fire of divine protection burns around you, not to harm but to sanctify. Every fear begins to lose its hold, every curse loses its effect, because where the light of God dwells, darkness cannot exist. At the end of the prayer, remain still. Do not rush to speak or move. Let the silence after the final word become part of the prayer itself. It is in that silence that the grace received takes root. The battle may have been fought in the unseen, but its victory manifests in peace, in the calm that rests upon your spirit, when you know you are safe beneath heaven's shield. Now the gate is open. What happens next is sacred. As long as you remain in faith, that protection endures. The prayer of Saint Michael is not a ritual that ends. It is a covenant that continues. You have invited the defender of light into your life, and he will not depart from the one who trusts in God's mercy. Invocation of Saint Michael. Now that the heart is prepared and the gate of protection has opened, it is time to speak to the Archangel directly. This is the sacred dialogue where heaven meets the voice of faith. The invocation of Saint Michael is not a chant. It is a declaration that light has authority over darkness, that peace has dominion over fear. When you pray these words, you are not alone. You are standing in the company of angels. Every syllable spoken with faith echoes through the unseen world, and the one who listens from above, the great defender of the faithful, moves with swift obedience to the will of God. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. These words are the heart of the invocation. They carry the strength of every prayer ever spoken in the shadow of danger. They call upon the protector of Israel, the guardian of the church, the prince of the heavenly host. When you speak them, you summon not myth or symbol, but the very reality of divine power acting in your favor. This prayer has been whispered on battlefields, in hospital rooms, beside beds of the dying, in moments when fear seemed to reign. And each time it is spoken, the outcome is the same. The darkness retreats. To invoke Saint Michael is to awaken the warrior of heaven, the one who stands in perfect union with the will of God. He does not come to harm but to heal, not to punish but to restore order where chaos reigns. His presence does not cause fear to the faithful, it brings peace. The wicked tremble before his name because it reminds them of their defeat, but the righteous find refuge under his wings. This is the paradox of divine justice. The same fire that destroys evil sanctifies the good. When you pray, "Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil," you are acknowledging the reality that evil works subtly, weaving deception into thought, temptation into desire, and discouragement into the heart. Yet every snare loses its grip when the Archangel is called upon. His sword is not of iron but of light, a flame of truth that exposes lies, reveals intentions, and cuts through spiritual confusion. Where Saint Michael stands, clarity reigns. The believer who calls upon him stands in the center of that clarity, illuminated from within by the certainty that God is greater than all fear. This invocation continues with humility. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. Those words are the shield that seals the prayer, for they affirm that victory belongs not to the creature, but to the Creator. Even Saint Michael himself acts only under the authority of God. His strength flows from divine obedience, and in this he teaches us the path to safety. True power is not found in control, but in surrender to the Almighty. The moment the believer humbles themselves before God, every force of darkness loses its claim. Pride cannot dwell where humility reigns. That is why the proud one, the ancient serpent, cannot bear this prayer. It reminds him that he is already defeated by love. Imagine, as you speak these words, that the heavens open above you. A radiance descends, filling the space around you. You are no longer just a person praying. You are part of the army of light. The angels take their positions, encircling you like walls of fire. In the center stands Saint Michael, calm, resolute, with eyes that reflect the justice of God and wings that blaze like dawn. His sword rises, and at that moment, every accusation, every shadow, every fear that sought to harm you falls silent. This is not imagination. This is faith in motion, the unseen reality that moves at the command of heaven. The invocation continues. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. These words are ancient and eternal. They carry the memory of battles fought long before human history began. Battles that continue today in every heart that seeks light. Yet you are not powerless. By uniting your voice with this invocation, you participate in the triumph of the cross. You stand with the same archangel who once cast down the enemy from heaven. That victory now extends into your life. Allow the silence after the final word to linger. It is in that silence that the archangel acts. You may not hear it, but the spiritual realm trembles when this invocation is spoken with faith. Chains break, doors close to evil influences, and the peace of God begins to settle upon the soul. The believer who prays this way is never left unprotected. The name of Saint Michael becomes like a seal upon their spirit, a mark that says, "This soul belongs to God." Remain still for a moment. Breathe deeply. The battle is already turning in your favor. Saint Michael stands guard, his sword drawn, his presence radiant and near. The invocation has been spoken, the authority of heaven declared. You are no longer standing alone in your struggle. You are surrounded by light. Every fear that once seemed powerful now dissolves before the glory of the Lord reflected through his archangel. This is the moment when faith becomes shield and prayer becomes victory. The fire of divine authority. When Saint Michael descends, he does not come as a symbol but as an extension of divine authority itself. The fire that burns within him is not of this world. It is the very flame of God's holiness, pure and incorruptible. This fire has no smoke, no destruction, only truth. It consumes lies, fear, and sin the way light consumes darkness, instantly, completely, and without struggle. This is the fire that once illuminated the heavens when the archangel cried out, "Who is like God?" It was not a fire of wrath, but of justice. The same fire that defeated rebellion then still burns now, not in punishment, but in defense of what is sacred. When the believer prays, this divine fire begins to move. It is not felt as heat upon the skin, but as strength in the soul, a steady certainty that fear is losing its hold. The fire of Saint Michael is not chaos, it is order restored. It purifies thought, aligns will to truth, and brings peace where confusion reigned. It is the same fire that moved through the burning bush before Moses, the same fire that descended upon the apostles at Pentecost, the same fire that fills the archangel's being. Wherever this fire moves, evil cannot remain. Picture the unseen battle now. What was hidden in darkness is revealed under the glow of this divine flame. The chains that bound the soul are made visible, chains of resentment, despair, addiction, doubt, and one by one, they begin to melt. The fire does not destroy the person. It destroys what is unworthy of them, what keeps them from God. In that process, liberation happens not by violence, but by purification. You may feel this as peace returning after turmoil, as clarity where confusion reigned, as courage where fear once dominated. This is the quiet work of divine fire, unseen yet undeniable. Saint Michael carries this fire in his sword, but the weapon is not made of metal or flame. It is forged in the will of God. When it strikes, it does not wound, it sets free. Each movement of that sword in the spiritual realm is an act of love, because every soul delivered from evil is a soul restored to truth. The enemy flees not because he fears the sword itself, but because it carries the authority of the word that created the universe. That same word is now at work within this prayer. In this moment, imagine that the Archangel stands before you, radiant with the brilliance of divine fire. His wings stretch wide, reflecting the light of eternity, and his gaze pierces not to judge but to cleanse. Every trace of darkness that lingered near you begins to fade. His fire moves through your home, through the memories that once caused pain, through the corners of your heart that felt unreachable. The atmosphere shifts. The air feels lighter, as if something unseen has been lifted. That is what divine authority does. It restores harmony to everything it touches. The fire of Saint Michael is also the fire of truth. It exposes deception in all its forms. Sometimes the darkness that torments the soul hides not in great sins, but in subtle lies. The lie that you are unworthy, that God has forgotten you, that you are too far gone to be healed. These are the whispers of the fallen, and they burn away instantly when exposed to truth. The moment you recognize them for what they are, the fire consumes them. You begin to see that you were never abandoned. The same God who created the angels also created you to share in his light. That realization brings transformation. The heart that once trembled under fear begins to beat with faith. The mind once trapped in anxiety begins to rest in trust. The very body begins to feel lighter because the spirit within it is no longer burdened by the weight of unseen oppression. This is not imagination. It is grace working through the authority of heaven. The prayer that called upon Saint Michael has released a divine response. Fire that purifies, truth that liberates, peace that endures. This fire is not something that visits and departs. Once received, it remains as long as faith is nurtured. Every time you pray, you add to it, feeding it with trust, keeping it alive through obedience. It is the same light that will guide you through temptation, sustain you in trial, and defend you in the unseen battles of each day. You may not always feel its warmth, but it remains like the steady glow beneath ashes, alive, waiting to rise again at the sound of your faith. The enemy fears this fire because he cannot counterfeit it. He can imitate emotion, noise, and spectacle, but he cannot reproduce the quiet authority of divine truth. When the Archangel's flame moves, evil does not argue. It flees. The presence of Saint Michael is not an event. It is a statement. God reigns here. And wherever God reigns, no shadow endures. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not simply protected, you are consecrated. The fire of Saint Michael has marked your life with the authority of heaven. You walk now not in fear but under command, the command of light that has no equal, no rival, no end. Let it purify you, guide you, and remind you that the same God who sent his archangel to defend the heavens now sends him to defend you. This is the fire of divine authority, gentle enough to comfort, powerful enough to save, the home covered by heaven's shield. When the light of Saint Michael has descended and the fire of divine authority has done its work, a new atmosphere begins to surround the soul, the atmosphere of protection. This is not a fragile or symbolic safety. It is a real and spiritual covering woven by grace, extending beyond the person who prays into every space they inhabit. The home becomes more than walls and rooms. It becomes a sanctuary. The air itself seems different, lighter, filled with an invisible peace that does not fade when the noise of the world returns. This is the mark of Saint Michael's guardianship, the shield of heaven resting upon all that belongs to God. The scriptures remind us in Psalm 91 that whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Saint Michael's protection is the embodiment of that promise. His wings, radiant with divine light, form a barrier that evil cannot cross. It is not a wall that isolates, but a boundary sanctified by obedience, by prayer, and by love. Wherever the name of God is honored, wherever faith is alive, the shield of Saint Michael expands like a dome of fire, unseen but impenetrable. The storms of life may still rage outside, but within there is calm. The world may shout in confusion, but the heart within that home rests in divine order. Imagine this shield as light moving gently through every room of your house. It passes through walls as easily as breath, leaving no corner untouched. It sanctifies the space where you sleep, the table where you share meals, the door through which you enter and leave. Each place where fear once lingered now holds peace. Each memory once haunted by pain now feels lighter, as if purified by something eternal. The presence of Saint Michael transforms not just the environment but the very energy of the home, replacing anxiety with serenity, chaos with balance, restlessness with quiet confidence. The protection he brings does not depend on rituals or objects, it depends on faith. A home where hearts are open to prayer becomes a fortress. It is not the grandeur of the house that matters, but the purity of intention. A single whispered prayer can sanctify an entire space, because grace multiplies itself in humility. When the believer invokes the Archangel with trust, the Holy Spirit moves through the home like wind through trees, unseen yet powerful. Every doorway, every window, every heart under that roof is marked by divine presence. Many do not realize that the home reflects the soul. Where bitterness reigns, peace withdraws. Where forgiveness dwells, light multiplies. Saint Michael's shield surrounds not only bricks and beams, but the relationships, emotions, and memories that fill that home. If there has been conflict, his presence brings reconciliation. If fear has entered through words or events, his fire seals those openings. What the enemy once used to cause harm becomes closed, purified by the authority of heaven. The believer who lives under this covering begins to notice subtle changes. Sleep deepens, thoughts calm, and even the hearts of those who enter the home feel touched by peace. This is not magic, it is sanctification. The difference lies in the intention. To seek protection through faith is to align oneself with God's will. To invoke Saint Michael is to invite divine order back into the space where disorder once reigned. Evil thrives in confusion, noise, and resentment. When light and prayer fill a home, darkness has no claim. Every sound of praise, every act of kindness, every word of blessing strengthens the walls of this spiritual fortress. What was once just a house becomes an altar, a place where heaven finds rest among the children of God. The shield that covers your home also extends to those you love. Distance does not limit divine protection. When you pray for your family, when you mention their names in faith, Saint Michael carries that intercession like a flame, spreading its light across boundaries, through time and space, into the hearts of those in need. The same protection that now covers you reaches your children, your parents, your loved ones far away. Heaven's shield knows no distance because love itself knows no distance. At night, when the world quiets, imagine that light still hovering over your roof, steady as the stars. Imagine the Archangel standing at the threshold, his sword lowered but ready, his gaze fixed upon every shadow that would dare to enter. He does not sleep, for the defender of souls never tires. His watch is constant, his faithfulness absolute. When you wake, give thanks, for you have slept under the wings of divine guardianship. When you step outside, remember that you are still under that same covering, for protection is not confined to place. It follows the heart that trusts. The home covered by heaven's shield is more than safe. It becomes a beacon. Others will sense it when they enter, that unexplainable peace that makes them want to linger a little longer, the sense of calm that cannot be faked or forced. That is grace radiating outward, touching lives through your faith. You have allowed heaven to dwell where you live, and heaven never leaves a place it has sanctified. So let your home remain a dwelling of light, Let the name of God be spoken within its walls. Let Saint Michael's protection continue to rest over every room, every person, every dream. As long as faith abides, the shield will not be broken. For the Lord has commanded his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. And at the head of that army stands the great Prince of Heaven, Saint Michael the Archangel, whose presence now guards your life and your home with an unshakable shield of divine peace. The silence after the battle. There comes a sacred stillness that follows every true encounter with God. The silence after the storm, when the soul realizes that the battle has been won. It is not the silence of emptiness, but of fullness. It is the breath that heaven takes after victory. The echoes of conflict fade, and all that remains is peace. Not the fragile peace the world offers, but the peace Christ promised, the peace that surpasses understanding. It rests upon the heart like dew upon the morning grass, quiet and gentle, yet undeniable in its presence. This is the silence that follows Saint Michael's intervention, the divine hush that signals that evil has retreated, that order has been restored, and that God reigns once again in the heart. In this silence, the believer begins to sense what cannot be seen, that every cry has been heard, every tear gathered, every wound touched by unseen hands. The Archangel has fulfilled his mission. He does not linger for praise or recognition. He stands watch, calm and radiant, in the quiet of a soul reclaimed by grace. The fire that burned fiercely moments ago now glows softly. The light remains, but the heat of battle is gone. What was chaos is now harmony. What was fear is now trust. This is the fruit of divine protection. Not noise, but peace. Not exaltation, but stillness. The silence after the battle is also a test. It invites the soul to listen, to recognize the presence of God in quiet rather than in struggle. Many expect victory to be loud, to come with visible signs and dramatic change. Yet God often hides his power in gentleness. The truest victories are internal, invisible to the eyes but transformative to the spirit. Saint Michael fights to clear the space so that the believer can finally hear the whisper of the Lord again, that tender voice that says, "Be still and know that I am God." In that moment, you realize that peace is not the absence of battle but the presence of trust. Look around you now, within and without. The air feels different. The weight that once pressed upon your chest has lifted. The racing thoughts have quieted. This is not imagination. It is the spiritual order re-established by grace. When Saint Michael defends a soul, he does not merely drive away darkness, he restores divine balance. The silence you feel is not emptiness but holiness, the same stillness that fell over the world when Christ, having spoken his last word on the cross, entrusted his spirit to the Father. That was not the end of hope, but the moment of redemption's power unfolding in silence. In this divine quiet, the soul begins to see with new eyes. It no longer seeks noise to feel alive, nor chaos to feel purpose. It discovers the beauty of stillness, the clarity that comes when the mind stops striving. In the silence after the battle, God begins to speak not in thunder but in peace. He speaks through the gentle rhythm of breath, through the soft pulse of the heart, through the awareness that all is held in his hands. This is where transformation deepens, in the quiet recognition that you are safe, that heaven is near, that Saint Michael has made room for grace to reign again. This silence also teaches vigilance. The absence of conflict does not mean the absence of need for prayer. Even as peace settles, the Archangel remains alert, for evil waits for distraction. But those who dwell in divine peace are not easy to disturb. Their hearts have learned the secret of protection, to remain still in trust. Saint Michael teaches the soul to keep watch in peace, not in fear. The quiet after battle is not idleness, it is awareness. It is the calm gaze of one who has seen the power of God and knows that nothing can prevail against it. Let this silence sink deeply into you. Do not rush away from it. Do not fill it with words or plans. Simply remain in it, allowing it to heal what the battle wounded, to settle what the storm unsettled. It is in this sacred pause that gratitude begins to bloom. The believer who has been defended knows that protection is not a one-time event, but a covenant renewed in faith each day. Every time you remember this moment, the peace returns. Because peace is not something you keep. It is someone who keeps you. You may not see Saint Michael now, but his presence remains. The same wings that shielded you during the conflict now rest gently over your soul. The sword that blazed with fire now gleams quietly beside you, its light steady, its work complete. This is the quiet after divine victory, not the silence of abandonment but of communion. God is near, nearer than he has ever been. So rest in this stillness. Let your heart learn to dwell here. When the next battle comes, remember this peace. It will remind you that every fight ends in God's triumph. The silence after the battle is the prelude to the song of eternity, the melody of heaven that only those who have been defended by grace can hear. Listen closely now, for in this silence God is whispering your name, the renewal of strength and faith. After the battle and the silence that follows, the soul begins to feel something stirring deep within, a strength that is not its own, a quiet courage rising like dawn after the longest night. It is not the return of old energy, but the birth of something new, the renewal of strength and faith that only divine encounter can produce. The one who has stood under Saint Michael's protection, who has witnessed the retreat of darkness and tasted the stillness of victory, is never the same again. The soul becomes steady, its roots deeper, its gaze clearer. It no longer trembles at the shadow of fear, for it knows now that fear has no substance where faith abides. Faith renewed is not blind optimism. It is vision purified by grace. It sees the world as it truly is, fragile, fleeting, but still held within God's eternal hands. This faith does not demand explanations. It trusts the one who gives meaning to all things. It does not need to control. It learns to surrender. Saint Michael does not only defend, he teaches. His protection is not a shield meant to make us passive, but a fire meant to awaken spiritual maturity. Through him, God calls the believer to rise from survival into strength, from mere existence into mission. The renewal that follows divine protection is quiet but powerful. It begins in the mind. Thoughts once filled with anxiety become ordered by truth. The restless need to understand every outcome gives way to peace in mystery. The believer learns that true wisdom is not knowing how everything will end, but knowing who holds the ending. The same hands that forge the stars hold the details of your life, and no darkness can snatch them away. This realization strengthens the soul more than any comfort the world could offer. Faith renewed also transforms the heart. What once feared the unknown now embraces it as a space where God reveals himself. The heart becomes more patient, more compassionate, more courageous. It begins to love differently, not for its own sake, but for God's sake. Suffering, when it returns, is no longer a sign of defeat, but an invitation to walk closer with the crucified. Each trial becomes an altar where faith is tested and refined, and Saint Michael's light burns quietly there, ensuring that pain does not become bitterness, that endurance does not turn to pride. The body, too, begins to reflect the inner change. There is a calmness in movement, a gentleness in voice, a steadiness in gaze. The world may see the same person, but heaven sees a new creation, someone tempered by fire yet unburned, purified by struggle yet unbroken. This is the power of divine renewal, the grace to rise again not as who you were, but as who God intended you to be. Saint Michael's role in this transformation is not merely defensive, it is formative. He guards the process by which grace reshapes the believer into strength. This renewed faith also carries a new responsibility. The one who has been defended must now defend, not with sword or argument, but with witness, with prayer, with love, with steadfastness in truth. Every believer shielded by Saint Michael becomes part of the heavenly army, not in battle alone, but in mission. To live in faith is to carry light into places that have forgotten it. To forgive where hatred reigns, to hope where despair speaks loudly, to trust when others surrender to doubt. This is the silent warfare of the saints. Saint Michael's strength now flows through the soul that prays, empowering it to be a bearer of peace in a restless world. This renewal also restores confidence in prayer. The believer who once doubted whether God listened now knows that every whisper matters, faith becomes not repetition, but relationship. Prayer becomes not a duty, but a meeting, a dialogue between creator and creature, between eternity and time. Saint Michael's protection has made this communion possible by clearing away the noise that once interfered. In this renewed clarity, prayer becomes effortless, like breathing in grace and exhaling trust. And there is yet another fruit of this renewal: gratitude. The heart that has seen God's protection becomes incapable of ingratitude. It learns to thank not only for blessings but for trials, because it now understands that even the hardest storms were allowed to reveal divine strength. Gratitude turns daily life into worship, and worship keeps the shield unbroken. The more the believer gives thanks, the stronger the bond between heaven and earth becomes. Gratitude keeps the flame of faith burning even in the coldest seasons. Faith renewed also recognizes the presence of Saint Michael, not as an occasional guardian, but as a constant companion. His mission in your life is not temporary. It endures as long as you walk in truth. When you rise in the morning, he is near. When you sleep, he stands watch. When you doubt, he reminds you through grace that God's promises are irrevocable. The believer begins to live with awareness of this celestial companionship, not in superstition, but in serenity. So rise now with that strength. Let the memory of divine protection become the source of courage for every new day. You have walked through battle, you have known silence, and now you live in renewal. You carry within you a strength not born of willpower, but of grace, a faith not dependent on sight but on trust. The world will not understand this peace, but it will see its light in you. That is the mark of Saint Michael's protection, a heart that no longer trembles, a faith that no longer falters, a soul that stands unshaken in the certainty that God is here and that his angels still guard his own. The seal of light, prayer of consecration to Saint Michael. There comes a moment when the soul, having been defended and renewed, must make a choice to live not merely protected, but consecrated. Consecration is the seal that completes all that has been given, the covenant of loyalty between the believer and heaven. It is the moment when the heart says to God, "I am yours entirely," and to Saint Michael, "Stand beside me always, for I will walk in the light you defend." This seal of light is more than a vow. It is a spiritual signature written not in words, but in surrender. To be consecrated to Saint Michael is to live under his guidance as one of heaven's own. It means allowing his purity to shape your thoughts, his courage to strengthen your will, and his obedience to inspire your daily walk with God. The Archangel does not seek worship, for all his glory reflects the Creator alone. His joy is to see a soul transformed by grace, freed from fear, and ablaze with divine love. In this act of consecration, you are not exalting the angel above the Lord. You are uniting yourself more perfectly to God through the example and protection of one who never ceased to cry, "Who is like God?" Close your eyes now and let this consecration become prayer. Speak not with hurried lips, but with a still heart. Feel the atmosphere around you change as you open yourself completely to the will of God. Imagine Saint Michael standing before you, serene, majestic, radiant with the fire of heaven. His sword no longer raised for battle, but lowered in blessing, gleaming with the light of peace. His gaze holds no distance, only the reflection of divine love that pierces every shadow within you. It is before this holy presence that the consecration begins. Say in the silence of your heart, "O glorious Saint Michael the Archangel, Prince of the heavenly host, I consecrate myself today to your protection and guidance. I entrust to you my soul, my body, my mind, and my heart. I place all that I am and all that I love beneath your shield of light. Defend me from the enemy's snares, from temptation, confusion, and fear. Teach me to love God above all things and to serve him with a pure heart. May my life reflect the truth you proclaim, that no one is like our God. Strengthen my faith, guard my home, and keep me steadfast in the hour of trial. Through your intercession, may my steps always lead toward the light of Christ, who is my salvation and my peace." This prayer, when spoken with sincerity, seals the soul in the radiance of heaven. It is not magic, it is covenant. The one who consecrates themselves to Saint Michael is declaring to heaven and to earth that their life belongs to God alone. From this moment, your path becomes clearer. The distractions that once held you lose their power, because the seal of divine light now marks you as a child under heavenly guardianship. Angels move with greater swiftness around those who live consecrated, for such souls walk as instruments of peace in a world that has forgotten holiness. The seal of light does not remove struggle, it transforms it. Every trial you face after this consecration becomes a new opportunity to grow in grace, to trust more deeply, to witness more boldly. Saint Michael's protection will not always mean the absence of storms, but it will ensure that no storm destroys what belongs to God. Even in your weakest hour, his presence will remain, sometimes felt as a warmth during prayer, sometimes as a sudden strength in moments of fear, sometimes simply as peace that defies logic. The seal does not fade. It endures through faith and obedience. From this day on, begin each morning with the remembrance of this covenant. When you rise, touch your forehead and say quietly, "Saint Michael, guard my mind." Touch your heart and say, "Saint Michael, guard my soul." Touch your chest and say, "Saint Michael, strengthen my courage." These simple gestures keep the seal alive within you, for consecration is not a single act, but a daily renewal of fidelity. Every prayer, every act of love, every moment of forgiveness adds new brilliance to that light which now rests upon you. The one who is sealed by heaven becomes a bearer of peace to others. When you pray for those you love, the same protection extends to them. When you bless your home, the same light flows into every corner. When you walk through the world, unseen grace goes before you, pushing back the shadows before you even arrive. That is the power of consecration, not domination, but radiation. You become a living reflection of the truth that God still reigns, that light still overcomes, that heaven still fights for the earth through the hands and faith of his children. So let this be your offering, your solemn declaration, that you will live as one who has been chosen, guarded, and sent. Say in your heart once more, "Saint Michael, my protector and guide, I am yours in Christ. Let your light never depart from me. May I live in obedience, courage, and faith until the day when, by your hand, I am led safely into the eternal light of God's kingdom." And in that moment, heaven listens. The seal is placed. The Archangel bows in reverence before the will of God and extends his wings around your soul. You have been claimed by light, marked by divine guardianship, and strengthened by the prayer of consecration. Walk now as one who belongs to heaven, for your life has been sealed in glory, not by your strength but by the eternal faithfulness of God. The final call. Don't ignore the voice of heaven. There are no coincidences in the language of God. If you have come to this moment, if you have listened until now, it is because heaven willed it. Nothing in the realm of faith happens by chance. The hand that led you here is the same hand that wrote your name in the book of life before the stars were born. The voice you heard through this prayer, the still whisper in your heart, the stirring in your spirit, is not imagination. It is heaven calling you to remember who you are and whose you are. Do not ignore this call. For every time heaven speaks, eternity leans close, offering a gift that will not wait forever. When the Archangel defends a soul, it is because God has chosen that soul for something greater. Saint Michael does not descend to perform small gestures. He comes to awaken divine purpose. His protection is never passive. It is a sign that God is preparing you for a deeper mission, to live as a witness of light in a world drowning in shadows. This is not only about safety, it is about calling. Those who have been touched by divine protection are called to become instruments of it for others. You were not saved to remain silent. You were guarded so that you might stand, strengthened, purified, and full of faith, to proclaim that heaven still fights for humanity. Listen to your heart now. There is a resonance there that was not present before, a quiet certainty that you have been changed. That certainty is the echo of grace, the sign that this encounter was real. Saint Michael's light has passed through your spirit, leaving behind not only peace but purpose. The temptation to return to old fears or old patterns will come, for darkness always tries to reclaim what light has healed. But remember this truth: what has been touched by heaven cannot be undone by hell. The protection you receive tonight is not fragile. It is eternal, sealed by faith and obedience. Do not let the world distract you from this truth. The noise of doubt will always try to drown the still voice of grace. Yet the voice of heaven never ceases. It speaks in every breath, in every sunrise, in every moment when peace surrounds you unexpectedly. That is how Saint Michael reminds you that he is still near. His mission does not end when the prayer fades. It continues in every decision, every thought, every step you take. You walk now with the mark of divine favor, and where you walk, light follows. The call of heaven is not only to believe but to act, to live as one who knows that God reigns even when the world trembles. It means forgiving when you have reason to hate, loving when you have been wounded, standing firm in truth when lies seem easier. Each of these acts is a victory. Each of them echoes the cry of Saint Michael, "Who is like God?" You become through grace a continuation of that cry in human form, a living declaration that no darkness, no sin, no fear can ever rival the power of divine love. Do not think that this was simply a prayer video, a fleeting moment of emotion. This was an appointment written by heaven. The timing, the words, the stirring in your heart, all of it was orchestrated by divine mercy. God speaks through moments like this to awaken the soul before it sleeps too deeply in the noise of the world. He calls softly, but with eternal urgency. You may ignore many voices, but not this one, for this is not human persuasion. It is the whisper of your Creator through the wings of His messenger. If you feel peace now, hold it. It is not just a feeling, it is evidence of grace. Guard it as you would guard a flame in the wind. Feed it with prayer, with scripture, with silence, with acts of kindness. When you grow weary, return to this moment and listen again. Each time you do, the same light that descended through this prayer will rise again within you. Heaven's protection is living. It breathes, it moves, it waits for your consent each day. Saint Michael stands still beside you as this prayer ends. He is not gone. He never leaves the one who believes. He guards you as he guards the church, as he once guarded the gates of heaven against rebellion. His mission now is to walk beside you until the day your soul crosses into the eternal light where battles cease forever. Until that day, his sword remains unsheathed, his wings extended, his eyes fixed upon the path before you. You are safe, not because danger will never come, but because God will never leave you. So take this moment as covenant and command. Rise tomorrow not as someone who merely prayed, but as someone transformed. Let your words carry peace where there is discord. Let your presence bring hope where there is despair. Let your faith proclaim silently, through every action, God is greater. God is here. God is victorious. That is the voice of heaven speaking through you now. And when the world's noise returns, when anxiety, temptation, or fear try to reclaim what grace has given, remember this truth. Saint Michael has already gone before you. The path has been cleared. The light has already been kindled. All you must do is walk in it. Do not ignore this call, for tonight, heaven has spoken your name. The protection of Saint Michael is upon you, and it will remain. The fire that once fought for you now lives within you. The victory has been declared. Now go, live it. Let your life itself become the prayer that never ends, the living song of a soul that knows it has been touched by the hand of God.